Hey everyone, I'm Vikram Salunke and welcome to the Web Application Penetration Testing and Secret Coding. This is the video number 24 at part 7 in the PHP basics. In programming, we have to perform different actions based on different conditions. For that, we use conditional statements. We will start with if statements. So for example, we want to find a greater number between two numbers. So let's imagine you have two numbers, num1 is 4 and num2 is 2. What we will do, we will check is num1 is greater than num2. If it is true, then the decision is num1 is greater than num2. So this was just a simple example of if statement. We are comparing two numbers and if the result is true, then we are deciding num1 is greater than num2. Now let's see PHP syntax for if statements. Okay, for this we use if keyword. We write condition here inside the round brackets, and if the condition is true, then this code will get executed. Curly brackets define the scope of this if statement. So if condition is satisfied there, then only this code will get executed. Now let's write PHP code for if statements. Let's start your virtual machine. If you don't know how to set up a virtual machine, then please watch my lab setup video. I will give the link in the I button above. So we are inside our web directory. Let's create a new directory here. Sudo make directory conditional statements. Give your password. Let's go inside that directory. Now let's create a index.php file. So sudo touch index.php. Okay, let's check that. We have created the file. Now let's edit our code using Sublime Text. So this is our directory and this is our index.php file. Let's write some PHP code here. PHP starts with this, ends with this. Now let's create a first variable, num1 equals 4. Let's create another variable, num2 equals 2. Now as you saw in the syntax, let's use if statement here. If inside this round bracket we will write a condition. If num1 is greater than num2, then our code block will begin here. So these curly braces are scope of if statement. Let's write an echo statement here. Echo num1 is greater than num2, end with a semicolon. So only if the condition is true, then only this statement will get executed. Let's save this code and let's test this code using our web browser. But before testing your code, make sure your Apache web server running from exam control panel. Now let's open the browser. Let's go to the localhost / conditional statements / index.php. Okay, so we got the result that num1 is greater than num2. That means this condition is true and this statement got executed. Now let's again see our code in a graphical version for better understanding. So our PHP code starts with this, ends with this. We have defined the first variable num1 equals 4, second variable num2 equals 2. So this is a condition statement. We are checking is num1 greater than num2. Inside the round bracket is our condition, and open curly braces indicates that if statement scope has begun. After that we are printing echo num1 is greater than num2. There is just a simple print message, and then this curly bracket indicates that this is the end of our if statement. Now let's see if else statement. So this is our previous example, num1 is 4, num2 is 2. We are checking if num1 is greater than num2. If it is true, then we are printing num1 is greater than num2. Now we are checking another condition. That means if this is false, then what we are going to do? We are going to declare that num2 is greater than num1. Now let's see the syntax of this logic. If keyword, then we write condition here inside the round brackets. And if this condition is true, then this code block is get executed. And curly braces indicates the scope of this if statement. And now we want to check if this condition is false. So for that we use another keyword else. Again open curly braces, end curly braces. And if this condition is false, then only the program logic will go here and this code will get executed. So also these curly braces define the else scope and these statements comes inside the else scope. Now let's modify our PHP program. Now let's write else here. Open close curly braces. In the scope of else, let's write echo num2 is greater than num1, and with a semicolon, save it. Let's open the browser and type localhost / conditional statements / index.php. Okay, it is again showing us that num1 is greater than num2 because num1's value is 4 and num2's value is 2. Now let's change the values. So let's give num1 3 and num2 6. Let's save the code. Let's go to the browser and refresh the web page. And now as we can see, our output changed. Now it is saying that num2 is greater than num1. This condition is false. That's why the code inside the block of else will get executed, and that's why we are getting message num2 is greater than num1. Now let's again see the graphical version of our program. PHP code starts here, ends here. We are defining two variables. Then we are checking is num1 is greater than num2. If that condition is true, then we are printing message. If ends here, after that we are starting the else, and if this is false, then this statement will get executed. That is just a print message, and else ends here. So if this condition is true, then only this code will get executed. If this condition is false, then only this code will get executed. We will see if, else if and else statement. So this is a program. We have defined two variables. Num1 is 4, num2 is 2. We are checking num1 is greater than num2. If it is true, then we are printing num1 is greater than num2. If it is false, then we are checking is num2 greater than num1. If it is true, then we are printing num2 is greater than num1. And if it is not true, then we are printing num1 is equal to num2. Now let's see the syntax of if, else if and else. So this is our if statement. We will write condition here inside the round brackets. If this is true, then only this code will get executed, which is inside the curly braces. This comes under the if statement scope. Now we want to check for another condition, which we'll write here inside the round brackets. If that condition is true, then only this code will get executed, which is inside the curly braces. So this comes under the scope of this else if statement. And finally we will write else. So if both condition is not true, then only the code will go here and this code will get executed, which comes inside these curly braces. So this code is inside the scope of this else statement. So if this condition is true, then only this will get executed. If this condition is true, then only this code will get executed. Else, if both the conditions are false, then only this code will get executed. Now let's modify our PHP program. So first variable is num1 equal to num2 equals 4. We are checking is num1 is greater than num2. Then it is printing num1 is greater than num2. Let's write else if. Let's write the condition num2 greater than num1. Let's print echo num2 is greater than num1. Let's write our else condition echo num1 is equal to num2. Let's save our code and go to the browser. Let's go to the localhost / conditional statement / index.php. So now it is telling num2 is greater than num1 because num2 is 4 and num1 is 2. Now let's change the values. Let's give num1 4 and num2 2. Save it. Let's refresh the web page, and it is saying now num1 is greater than num2. So this code is getting executed. Now let's write the same values. So num1 is also 2 and num2 is also 2. Let's save it and let's go to the web browser. Let's refresh the web page, and it is telling num1 is equal to num2. That means this code is getting executed. So if this condition is true, then only this code will get executed. Else, if this condition is true, then only this code will get executed. If both the conditions are false, then only this code will get executed. Now let's again see the graphical version of our last program. PHP starts here, ends here. We have defined two variables, num1 equals 4, num2 equals 2. We are checking if num1 is greater than num2, and if statement scope starts here, then we are printing num1 is greater than num2. We are checking is num2 is greater than num1. If it is true, then only we are printing num2 is greater than num1. Okay, else if is ending here, and we are starting with the else. If both these conditions are false, then only we are printing this message num1 is equal to num2. So this is the end of our else scope. So when we enter the program, it will first check is num1 greater than num2, then only this will get executed. If it is false, then it will go to this statement. It will check, is num2 greater than num1? If it is true, then only this code will get executed. If this condition is false, then only this condition will get executed. So that's it for this video. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, then don't forget to hit the like button. If you have any doubts or you need any further explanations, then please write your doubts in the comment section below. Thank you.